Jay here for Stretford, Paddock, and this is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm not outside Old Trafford. I've not got my parker on. I'm actually in my little bunker somewhere, but don't worry, I am getting food and water. We'll be back at Old Trafford soon, but for the time being, I'm just going to do a quick Paper Talk here at home. And shock horror, the papers are all talking about Paul Labille Pogba. It seems as soon as one never-ending story finishes in Jadon Sancho, another one pops up, and the one that always seems to pop up every year, no matter what, is that one about Paul Pogba. Now, away on international duty, Paul Pogba has been speaking about his dreams. Very nice, you would think, but it's upset a lot of people because he said that one day his dream would be to play for Real Madrid. Now, we're going to get the full quote because people have been sort of losing their mind a little bit about this, but I think it's only fair on Paul Pogba. We look at the full quote because it wasn't quite open and shut as I want to go to Real Madrid. So he said, he's talking about a new deal. He says, no one has told me anything. I haven't spoken to Ed Woodward. We haven't spoken about a new deal. At the moment, I'm in Manchester and I'm concentrating on about getting back to my best form. I think there will be a moment when the club will come and talk to me and maybe offer me something or not. And then he was asked about the prospect of a move to Madrid. Now, he's been linked with Madrid, and he's asked about this a lot, especially because of the Zinedine Zidane French connection. So, especially when he's away on international duty, he always gets asked about Madrid. And he said, all football players would love to play for Real Madrid. It is a dream for me. Why not one day? Now, that if you end it there, people will be going berserk. What's he doing? Is Manchester United player? He then adds, I'm in Manchester, and I love my club. I am playing in Manchester. I'm having fun, and I want to do everything to put the club where it deserves. I will give everything to the max, like my teammates. So, I mean, you can look at it two ways. You can say, okay, you know, he's mentioned the fact that he likes to play for Madrid one day. He's at the end of the world. He's talked about the fact that he wants to give his all for United, which is good. But then the other sort of flip side to that, the reason people are sort of getting annoyed is, well, why talk about Madrid? Why even answer the question? He's asked, he says, oh yeah, who wouldn't want to play for Madrid? And then he reminds everyone that he's at United and he's going to give his all. I think the problem you got with Paul Pogba is because he's been linked so heavily with Madrid, people thought this move was going to happen sort of a couple of seasons ago when Pogba said he wanted to leave, he wanted a new challenge. Many thought Madrid, who were spending money like a bloody Kardashian, were going to come in and buy him. Didn't happen, obviously. They bought pretty much half of Europe, the likes of Eden Hazard and all the rest of it, but they didn't come in for Paul Pogba. It seemed that the transfer fee was a bit of a sticking point. United wanted around 120, 130 million for Paul Pogba. Even Real Madrid put off by that one. Juventus are another club that he's been linked with as well. I know he's not talking about Juventus here, he's talking about Madrid, but they were linked with him. He's obviously been there before. That never materialised. And Paul Pogba came back to United, and to be fair, I mean, once he got over his injury issues towards the end of the season, he played a part in getting us to third place. So you're always going to have these rumours. We know that Paul Pogba obviously respects Zidane. He's said it himself that he wants to go to Madrid. We know in the past he said he wanted a new challenge. But there has been sort of stories and reports of late that Paul Pogba was going to sign a new deal. And, he's mentioned there about a new deal. And many people thought that perhaps he was ready to put pen to paper. And perhaps the fact that, we are in this pandemic and the coronavirus has wreaked havoc a lot in some transfer dealings. Maybe Madrid weren't willing to pay the money that it takes to get Paul Pogba. Also, Juventus, I don't really think that's going to happen. So maybe he was almost stuck here, if you will. And it was a case of either get your head down and play for Manchester United, or you just more or less salt because you're not going to get the move to the Bernabeu because of the way things are in the transfer market. So these sorts of rumours are always going to do the rounds, and Paul Pogba may well desire to go to Real Madrid one day, and he may well think that that's an option, but at the minute it's not. So we know the transfer window shuts. He's certainly not going anywhere this summer. I don't see him going anywhere in January. So hopefully we can get the best out of Paul Pogba. And I know we keep saying this, he can just get his head down and move on. But it's something that's doing the rounds in all the papers this morning because of these comments. And it depends on you how you see it, whether you think this is it. It's another one of him trying to hanker for a move, or whether it's just him answering a question about a club he's obviously got a fondness for. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that. And wait and see if Real Madrid ever actually do come up with a concrete bid for Paul Pogba, because we've had all these rumours and sort of reports and stories coming out in the press. We know Mino Raiola would love to get one big, massive payday out of his client. There's no doubt in there. He'd love for Paul Pogba to make 130, 120, over £100 million move if he was going to get a big chunk of that. but it's not likely to happen anytime soon. So we'll have to wait and see if it does happen at all. Now, in terms of other news, because there is other news at Manchester United, not just about Paul Pogba. Now, there's a few stories that are doing the rounds about Bruno Fernandes and what happened at half-time. There's been lots of rumours that Bruno Fernandes and Harry Maguire had a bit of a kick-off during the 6-1 defeat against Spurs, and that's why Bruno Fernandes was subbed at half-time, because apparently, there was these rumours, I think they were just rumours, that he'd gone berserk or he'd criticised Harry Maguire in front of everyone, and that's why Ollie decided to take him off at half-time. Now, there's a report in The Athletic, I think it is, where it says that Bruno Fernandes was vocal at half-time, and you can see he's got that in him. You've seen it. I don't know if you've seen the footage of him once where I think he'd been sent off and he was kicking off, and you can see him on the pitch. I remember his debut against Wolves. First game for Manchester United, you're coming into this game, you're coming into this club, you've got 76,000 fans at Old Trafford, and he's shouting at other players, he's telling him where he wants them to go. And you like to see that, you love to see it, as the kids say, and I think that's a good trait that Bruno Fernandes has. And you can see he was obviously upset, rightly so, at the performance at half-time against Spurs. But the substitution apparently wasn't anything to do with him kicking off or anything like that. It was simply tactical. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer decided to make a change to try and get Manchester United back into the game against Tottenham Hotspur. Obviously, it didn't work, but it looks like that may be a bit of a storm in a teacup. Now, in other news, in terms of transfer dealings, I know the transfer window's shut, but there's sort of still stories going on about transfers United could have made, transfers United want to make. And apparently, again, this is another story regarding transfers with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, that he's frustrated that the United didn't sign Erling Haaland. I think this is in ESPN, saying that he thinks Haaland would have made a lot of sense to buy him, despite his release clause, would have made a big difference, and that he's disappointed that's not happened, and that Haaland and Jadon Sancho still remain on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's wish list. Now, regardless of where you stand on Ole, I know he's been getting a lot of flack lately. Again, there's talk that maybe Pochettino has been sounded out. Some papers running that story, others saying that's just a bit of a nonsense. And personally, I'm not sure. I think there's always going to be Pochettino rumours as long as he's available. I'm not sure whether the club have actually been having conversations with him recently, especially around transfer deadline day. That doesn't make much sense to me. But you never know with this club. Anything's possible with that much of a shambles. But Ole wanted Erling Haaland, obviously, and Jadon Sancho. Didn't get any of them. He was upset about Haaland. I was baffled by this one. I've been a bit annoyed about it, because it was, for me, it made a lot of sense. Now, people were saying, well, he had a release clause. We would have lost him after a season if someone come in with 55 million. So what? We could have had Erling Haaland. That would have made a big difference to, we got to 3 semi-finals. Now, no disrespect to the likes of Odin and Gallo, but Erling Haaland's just different class. And I think had we had someone like him, then one of those semi-finals may well have turned into a final and even a trophy. I'm not saying we would have won the league or anything like that if we would have signed Erling Haaland, but we certainly would have won some silverware. We would have had a much better chance of winning silverware, and it is amazingly frustrating to me that we didn't push to get that deal done. A deal that was doable. It was so doable, and we didn't. And then we make excuses, the buyout clause and the other things, the selling right or whatever. It's nonsense. We should have made that deal done. And apparently Ole Gunnar Solskjaer feels the same way and has not given up on maybe getting his man eventually. Now, another transfer rumour that did the rounds again. This is sort of in retrospect, and again, it's coming from ESPN. This was about Nico Schultz. United apparently made some sort of deadline day move for Nico Schultz that left Dortmund slightly baffled, because it was an 11th hour bid for the left back. Again, now this to me just seems a bit nonsensical, because we got Alex Telles. So why would we be going in for someone else on deadline day? I don't know. I don't get that. And it says that apparently Dortmund were baffled by that. I'd be baffled. I don't see us buying 2 left backs. And by that time, of course, the Telles deal was already done. So I'm not too sure on that one at all, to be honest with you. I don't get where that's coming from. And I think that might just be literally paper talk, in the sense that it's just paper talk. It's just a load of nonsense. There's a lot of sticks to beat Manchester United with in a minute. And I think that, if you sort of make a comment or run a story about Manchester United's transfer window and how we've been a bit of a shambles, you're always going to get a lot of traction. People are going to be interested in that, and people will be willing to read it or whatever. But I just don't see that as being true. I just don't think that makes any sense that even a club like Manchester United have got a reputation at the minute for being a bit shambolic. When it comes to our transfer dealings, I don't see us going for a left back on a deadline day when we just sign one. But you may disagree. Also, another sort of story that was doing the rounds yesterday, I think it was yesterday evening, Fabrizio Romano tweeted, Amad Traore Diallo completed today's medicals as new Manchester United player, work in progress for his passport. He'll arrive in January as reported on deadline day, #MUFC. So we know about Diallo. We spoke about him extensively on the deadline day show that we did. He's coming to United eventually, not quite yet, but we're just waiting for all his sort of passport and everything else to be sorted out. But his medical has gone without a hitch. So the big story there, Paul Pogba. Other stories about United's supposed transfer dealings. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer being unhappy. Bruno Fernandes being quite vocal, but that not being the reason behind his substitution. As always, we'll be keeping you updated with all the latest news, all the latest updates. It is international breaks. There's no matches. No England play last night, but no one cares. Lots of people getting annoyed, actually. A few stories in the papers about United fans. I know, papers like to report what United fans are saying, which I always find a bit odd, but that's what they do. Saying United fans are all sort of looking at Jack Grealish going, what might have been. Yeah, I was one of them, if only. But we didn't sign him, so we move on. I've been Jay. This has been the Paper Talk. Don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe. Hit the like button, man. Let's get some likes on these videos. Let's try and get to, let's try and get to 2,000 likes on this video. I've never had that on one of my Paper Talks. I don't think I've anyway. Maybe because we've not signed Jadon Sancho. I would have got that if I was reporting about that. So let's try and hit that like button. And don't forget to hit subscribe as well. Thanks for watching.